I do believe it will change state from one form of matter into the other. And, when we die, our bodies don't cease to exist. They return to the dust. They change state. So, whenever we die, our bodies just don't disappear into nothingness. We decompose, we change state. Or at least our bodies do. We're no longer there, of course. But, it says the elements shall melt. Now, this gives me reason for saying that the earth will merely change state. The Greek word for elements means just that. The primary article, other things as composite belong to. So it's like the basic building blocks, the elements. The word used for melt means to untie, unbind, dissolve, to break up, melt, or destroy. It does not mean cease to exist. So I believe the base elements of creation will be broken down and change state, most likely a liquid. But even possibly could turn into a gas. Yet all the matter still exists, either as matter or energy. I believe it most likely means to liquefy. This is because of what follows the verse. The method that this will take place is done with fervent heat. The Greek word used here, kasiomena, a form of the kasiomai. This means to burn up, set fire to suffer with feverish burning, be parched with fever. So I believe that no natural living human being could survive the whole earth changing state from its solid form to a liquid form and then back to a solid form again due to that process of heat, extreme heat. I believe this nullifies any idea of figurative language or allegory. It is very specifically speaking of dissolving, melting by extreme heat of fire. So why do I mention this? Well, following the second coming begins the millennial reign of Jesus. The second coming, Jesus kills all of those that accepted the mark of the beast, also the beast and the false prophet, and the blood will rise to the horse's bridle. They are immediately cast in the lake of fire. We already know the saints will be raptured at the second coming. So the first thing, the trumpet sounds. Jesus is coming in the sky from the east to the west, and his saints are being raptured up. First the dead will rise, and then those that remain. And then following that, when he touches down on the Mount of Olives and splits it in two, then he will establish his reign here on earth for 1,000 years. He's going to destroy and kill everyone who took the mark of the beast and the false prophet. He's going to kill them all quite violently, all by himself, and the blood's going to rise up to the horse's bridle. I think I remember hearing a teaching saying it's like 300 miles. So it's basically pretty huge. But anyhow, those people are going to be cast in the lake of fire immediately. So if he destroys everything, turns it into liquid and then back into solid, then no one really could survive that if anybody was still there. And there has to be another group of people still here. Because if the saints are raptured up, which I believe they are going to be, and Jesus kills all those that took the mark of the beast and the false prophet, which I believe he will do, then who is he going to reign over for that 1,000 of years? He's not going to reign over the chipmunks and the squirrels. He's going to reign over people. So there has to be a third group of people. A group of people that did not take the mark of the beast and also were not saints. A group of non-Christians that refused to accept the mark, worship the beast, or worship his image. The idea that every non-Christian will take the mark of the beast is simply not true or supported by Scripture. It is an assumption that people make. Other people will refuse the mark of the beast for other reasons. They will remain after the second coming, and Jesus will reign over them 1,000 years. The saints will rule with him. That third group of people will age and die. They will get married and have children. Generations will pass during that 1,000 years. So how could they survive the melting destruction of the planet at the day of the Lord? One could say that God could supernaturally protect them, as he has done for his people, yet there are no biblical examples where God used supernatural means to protect wicked sinners, wicked rebels. So I see no reason why God would protect the rebels from his wrath at his coming. It doesn't make any sense. So it seems he will use the existing method in physics to dissolve the earth into possibly a liquid or even maybe a gas. I only say that because it's a possibility. I really just believe it's going to be a liquid by using extreme heat. So I see no reason why those people would be protected during that process. I believe they'd be subject to the same laws of physics if that were to happen at that time, and they would also be melted and turned into a liquid and change state from living to dead during that process. And really, if you think about it, God can do anything. He doesn't have to destroy the earth with a great heat and liquefy it. He could just instantaneously change it, like pushing a button or flipping a switch. But this isn't what Scripture says. The Scripture says it's an extreme heat process. And I believe, the reason for this is I believe it's the final manifestation of God's wrath. The travailing and groaning of creation necessitates that it will be purified and made new. As sort of the same as our glorified bodies, the whole creation will be made into a type of glorified body, made pure. So it still makes sense to me, that those people would not be here during that process, because if they were somehow to survive the dissolving of the earth and then the new creation, if they were to survive that, now you have wicked sinners. They're not Christians. They didn't take the mark of the beast, but they're still sinners. And you got these wicked sinners that are going to be in the new earth that are promised to the saints. It just doesn't seem to make any sense. It goes against God's character of how he views his saints and how he views wicked sinners. I don't believe that he would let them enter into the new earth that are promised to the saints. I can't really give an actual Bible verse that says that they won't. But from the Bible that I have read, I just don't believe that they will. It's kind of a philosophical objection I have based on the Scripture I do know. So, and I do call these people sinners, and for a lot of reasons, but if they were saints, they would be raptured. That's number one reason, but here's another reason. If you look in Zechariah chapter 14, verses 16 through 19, we see here from the passage from Zechariah, it shows that these people will refuse to come and worship at Jerusalem during the Feast of Tabernacles. So Jesus will cause it not to rain on that nation. So this is proof that they're sinners because they're disobeying Jesus during the millennial reign. And it also shows a travailing and groaning of creation. Causing it to not rain not only affects the people, it also affects the creation. No water will kill the grass and everything up the food chain. So you're affecting the whole of creation whenever it doesn't rain over a nation for an extended period of time, for like a year. So that would be causing the creation or the earth to go through great travail and groaning. And it just doesn't make any sense to me that Jesus would do that to the new earth. Does that make any sense? So part of the promise is that we're going to have glorified bodies, and also that the earth will be changed to a new earth. That's also part of the promise. So I don't see that would take place. I think the pivotal criteria to clue in on the verse of 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10 is the phrase "day of the Lord." Now we really need to identify and define that phrase, and this will really define the timing of the verse. Where it is easy to see that the day of the Lord as the second coming of Jesus Christ, I see some other possibilities based on some precepts that I have. One other conceivable meaning is the millennial reign itself can be considered as the day of the Lord. Even though it lasts 1,000 years, referring back to verse 8, the same passage that verses 10 and 13 are in, this precept is known as Chiliasm. So we look at, 1,000 years is as a day, and a day is as 1,000 years. I believe that it's saying that for a reason, to clue us in on the millennial reign. That the millennial reign itself would be a day of the Lord. And, this title of this doctrine, Chiliasm or Chiliasm, is based on the Greek word that's used there. So that's what this doctrine is based on. That's what it's named after. This is actually a belief that was in the early church, that there's basically going to be 6,000 years from the creation to the millennial reign beginning, and then the last 1,000 years as kind of a Sabbath rest to finish out the week of creation. And that's the basics of Chiliasm. And this is one reason the post-trib doctrine used to be known as premillennialism, because of that 6,000 year period. And it no longer is premillennialism because of the advent of the pre-trib doctrine, because it's also premillennial in its definition. So now we have to call it post-trib. So that final 1,000 years, called the millennial reign, being a type of Sabbath, 7,000 years total. 1 full week of creation being total completion, since the number 7 is repeatedly used as a number signifying completion. So the total 7,000 years of creation would be kind of like God's signature of perfectness and completion. The word perfect just means complete, lacking nothing. So I believe that's what is expressed in this. So the phrase "day of the Lord" could also be referring to that, and it could also be referring to Judgment Day. We look here in Isaiah 2 verse 12, "For the day of the Lord of hosts shall come upon every one that is proud and lofty, and upon every one that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low." Being lifted up and being brought low signifies leveling of scales. To give judgment is also what John the Baptist preached, and Jesus would ultimately do. So I believe this is referring to Judgment Day.